You're watching Ball State Digital Showcase, episode number 8. I'm your host, Josh Schweigert. This is the show that takes you behind the scenes of the Ball State Digital Storytelling Program and highlights some of the amazing talents and ideas of our students. On today's episode, I talked to first-year student Walker Foley about a trip he recently took to India and Nepal, where he documented the cultural immersion of several of Ball State's architecture students. First off, I kind of wanted to know what your background is skill-wise. We have a lot of different types of people in this program.
All right. Well, the primary focus of my undergraduate education for a while was theater. So I've done a lot of acting, and I've studied in a couple of different places and worked for different companies. And then I started to get involved with some film students on campus and got more involved into television production. And so I picked that up as a second major because, I figured if I couldn't be in front of the camera, I could get behind it. And my career at UD, the University of Dayton, shot up from there. So while I was there, I gained a lot of skills in video production and other methods of multimedia like radio, music, and some aspects of the Adobe suite. So it's just a lot of multimedia stuff that I've been doing.
You've had a unique opportunity while here to travel with a different group. Can you tell us where you went and kind of what the experience was like?
Yeah. Well, early on, I think it was in fall sometime, I was talking to Dr. Christie, and he mentioned that the College of Architecture and Planning sends these students to Southeast Asia every so often. I want to say every other year, but that could be inaccurate. And so I got in contact with their, program director, who is Nihal Pereira. And he's been taking these kids to Southeast Asia for years now. I think he originally started the program. And I contacted him. He said he wanted some media work done, like a small promotional documentary or media materials. And at first we weren't really sure how I was going to get to India or if I would be able to get to India. So things were kind of iffy, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off all by myself. So I wanted to enlist some help because I'm not the most organized of people. I like to do a lot of the conceptualization and actually show up and shoot. So I wanted someone who could help me bring it to a cohesive ground, and that would have maybe a little bit more insight to vision, because it's always good to have different perspectives. So I asked Greg, who's in my cohort as well, Greg Raleigh Barrett, but I had him on to come on the trip with us, and he had a whole bunch of grant funding that was just sitting somewhere that I was a wonderful boon because I had no idea. So all of a sudden it was like this difficulty of project materialization was just like, bam, got it. All right, let's go to India. And so we did, and the initial plan was just to be there for 2 weeks, which I was a little worried that wouldn't be enough time, but it turned into, it was like within 3 days we were in, and it was a wonderfully accepting group, and the students had been there for about 2 months before that, so they knew where everything was. They showed us around. We didn't have to have, the culture shock was there, but it was there, and absent from it was the fear of, where do I go now? What do I do? Where am I? I can't speak the language, because we already had people with us who we're from Ball State that knew the area like the back of their hand. Like, they'd take us around in cabs and, rickshaws, and they would just be like yelling at the driver, turn here, and like, we need this and this and this street. And I'm like, I don't even know how you remember all this, but it was pretty interesting. It was a great experience to not have to worry.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. You were kind of documenting a group of people immersing in a different culture, but to do that, you had to immerse in a different culture yourself.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
There were a couple kids I really connected with on the trip. There were 4 of them in particular. There was Jeff Lauer, Jaron Cooley, Maya Zaragoza, and Grace Bogdan. She's from Rutgers, so that just shows you that some of the students were from different programs. But these guys were some of the most energetic people I've ever met, and they were fun, and they were completely open to the experiences that were around them. So when I wasn't shooting and following the broader group, they were generally who I was with to get around and to hang out with, and it was a lot of fun. So they were able to take me around, and you know, when you're just in a group of people who are so wonderfully accepting of what's going on around them and what you perceive as a completely alien culture, it makes it so much easier because you already have a group of people to, like, you know, whatever. I don't have to feel anxious. I don't have to feel nervous. I don't have to feel self-conscious of what I'm doing here because, I don't know, it was just no worries. In fact, Jeff was wearing kurtas, which is like traditional Gujarati garb, which kind of looks like a nightgown top that comes down to about the knees with a slit in the side, and then there's like these cotton white pants that they wear. And he was like, you gotta get one of these. So we went to a store, I got one, and like second week there, we were just wearing kurtas everywhere, and it was really cool. And I don't know, people in Ahmedabad, it's not a city that gets a lot of tourism. So people in Ahmedabad are really interested in where you're from, who you are, what your name is. They want a picture of you. They want a picture with you. They want you to take a picture of them. They want you to shake their hands. They want you to hold their baby. They want you to take a picture of the baby. Like, and everyone wants to know where you're from. Everyone wants to speak with you. And I'm probably just overgeneralizing, but there were times we just walked through the market and get swamped by interest. And it was really, that was the only thing that really bothered me at first, because I was like, whoa. But you get used to it, and it just starts, instead of being like this initial interest, turns into a dialogue with these people. So you gain a little bit more insight, and I don't know, it was wonderful. And it was funny because you'd think, well, that's a bold thing to do, wear a kurta in a different country, but they thought it was awesome. They thought it was cool that we were able to step outside of ourselves enough and not worry about stuff like that, and that we could just come in. And that opened up a lot more dialogue with the people we were meeting. So that was interesting too. But I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you had a lot of fun, but what about the work aspects? What were your responsibilities on this trip?
Well, once I got there, my job was to keep the camera rolling and to document those little interesting moments, and to get the interview shot, and to make sure the recordings were going well, to coordinate with Greg and, you know, get the data rounded up every night. We'd basically just shoot for like 4 or 5 hours a day, or however long we were out, then just dump it at night, go get dinner, do what we needed to do, and do that. Because, you know, we were there to document the experience of the Cap Asia trip. So a lot of their stuff took place during the day, though we did get evening footage sometimes. I mean, I never didn't have my camera on me, so.
Looking forward into the future, do you see yourself doing more of this kind of thing, traveling to other countries and kind of documenting the experience?
I do, but you know, a lot of what I've done, because I've worked for, I helped get a music blog off the ground, which is now starting to really grow, and what I did was a lot of their multimedia aspects. So a lot of that was just showing up and shooting and asking questions as we were shooting, as opposed to having like intensive research. A lot of what Cap was following around, and you know, we had an idea of what we wanted to do, but the story evolved from that, so things got different. If I'm going back to school to post-baccalaureate to do some different studies in environmental resources, sustainable agriculture, environmental justice. And I think being in India influenced that decision a lot, because you start to see these inequalities between people, and you're like, wow, this is, you know, talk about being disillusioned with. I don't know, you just see these, I mean, it was a completely different environment, and it changed my perspective. So I guess I'm sorry to divert. What I'm trying to say is that I have different goals for what I want to do with my education now, and how I feel I can affect change in the world. Because I feel like if you're not, you know, if you're not actually doing stuff to help people, and you're not doing stuff to make anything better, then, you know, what the hell are you doing? So I'm going back to study those things, and what I'm hoping is down the road, because I'm never going to lose my media skills. You know, I know how to do what I know how to do. So I'm hoping down the road that'll take more of a focus. So instead of showing up and shooting, I'll be able to go with a plan, with an idea of what I'm going to do, hunt it out, do the research, get the thing that I need to get, and then have a product that speaks to my experience and speaks to the message I'm trying to give. And a lot of the times when we do these show up and shoot things, we just wait for the story to reveal itself and keep our eyes and ears open. So I'm hoping that my work takes more of a focus, but that's not to downplay what I did. I mean, and CAP was a great experience, and we got a lot of good out of it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a fascinating time, and I just want to thank you for coming on and telling us about it.
All right.
If you like this episode, you can find more just like it at digitalshowcase.tumblr.com or by visiting our Vimeo page directly at vimeo.com/digitalshowcase. We are also available through the iTunes Music Store. Just go to the podcast section and search for Ball State Digital Showcase. Thanks for watching.